All right, part two. So some researchers and commentators have argued that if fertilization were to occur despite contraceptive use, and if endometrial alterations were to reduce the likelihood of successful implantation, a post-fertilization loss could theoretically occur, right? So what does that mean? That the embryo was lost, the baby died, right? As a direct result of the pill, right? The pill causes embryonic death, right? Which is the whole point of the whole point of this channel, right? This is I don't know if you ever seen a child who died, man. It's so horribly sad. It's such a profound loss. I remember there was a 7-year-old, boy, and he died. Oh man, it was like such a heartbreaking loss, and so if you can imagine a younger child that were to die, right? But this is the youngest possible death, right? It's so incredibly tragic, right? And I can hear the feminist windbag now. You're saying that you're saying that an embryo has as much value as a 7-year-old child, and it should be very very sad if this child dies in an accident. Absolutely, it's this equal value, equal tragedy, right? It absolutely is. It is even more because I mean this baby had literally just a few days to survive, right? Naturally, but see that's the thing. It's so inconvenient to prove this thing, right? So then it's shrouded in this confusing. First of all, they got the implantation, but we debunked that. That's it's not even an issue anymore. We already know that, but they're still in the implantation world, that bubble. It's a bubble. That's all it is. The implantation world has no bearing in reality at all, right? If you're not aware of what I'm talking about, the implantation, basically they're suggesting that the implantation is the starting of a pregnancy. It's not even logical, right? Very 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 easy to say, well, they are not abortifacients because, well, implantation is the starting of pregnancy. That's nonsense. If you follow embryology, you'll know that that's absolute garbage, right? Just follow that debate if you're still if you still seriously put forward the fact that implantation is the starting of a pregnancy. Just click off this channel because I mean there's nothing else. There's nothing else here for you, right? All right, let's continue. Some research and commentators, yeah, we saw that, yeah, or read it again because it's so important, right? Some researchers and commentators have argued that if fertilization were to occur, if fertilization were to occur, okay, if, then there's two ifs here. And it were to reduce the likelihood of successful implantation, then a post-fertilization loss could occur, right? Theoretically, it does, right? So that's the point, right? You have to infer that it happens not only here and there, but on a larger scale, right? If it's so inconvenient to prove and all this stuff, well, you have to make these inferences, right? And if we infer that what we see here by their FDA's own, publications, that ovulation is suppressed 50% of the time, right? But what did we see here? So inconvenient to see this proof and everything, and it keeps on going, right? This keeps on going. You got these lies after lies after lies after these young ladies that are unable to, comprehend any of the stuff that we talked about on the channel, and they're just saying, "Oh, it's going to prevent pregnancy, right? It's not. I'm not. I can, fornicate, and I'm not going to be able to get a. I'm not going to be in trouble from my parents for getting pregnant, right?" That's how deep the conversation goes. It doesn't go into any of this depth at all, right? So that's why it's so. I mean, and for me to go 2 years plus, full time on this thing while having a baby, literally while having a baby, Bianca, right? My baby Bianca is so very, very beautiful and precious, and you still get these people doing surgical abortions, right? That's so incredibly evil and all this stuff. I think anybody that's here with me could agree with that. But the idea that the pill, you know, causes embryonic death, right? If you understand how serious that is and how tragic that is, you know, you, it's real. This is really, really happening, right? Um, I'll be back in a few minutes, so just I don't know. I got these 5 minutes videos. We'll have to be right back.